Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Let's get started. Anything new before the competition ends? Steve, any new things you tried?
Yeah, so this week I tried what we were talking about last week, where it like sort of fine tunes each of the LGBM models as it gets more data during the loop. So like that gave me a bit of a boost. So that's what I've been trying at the minute. Yeah, so I've tried that, and the one thing I've had to watch was like obviously when the competition itself starts, the amount of data that
Steve can't hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, Steve, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I think I lost my connection there.
Okay. Yeah, we couldn't hear you for the last 2-3 minutes. You were saying you were fine-tuning the already trained models. So how are you doing that? You're just
Yeah, so like every new date ID, I use the revealed targets to give me the target value for the previous date ID.
right.
And then like with that block of data, then I take my already trained LGBM models and yeah, just train them for like another couple of iterations on the new set of data that I have. And so yeah, like the model gets slightly better each date ID. But yeah.
Oh, so when you say couple of iterations, so how do you like because this is LGBM, right? So do you say like couple of epochs or something, or
with the LGBM, the parameter, and we say I'll find it.
yeah, that's what I was curious. What parameter you use to limit it to like?
I can't find where it's gone. I'm just looking for it. I don't know.
Yeah, if you find it, if you could post it even later. Another question.
I've got it now. Sorry. Yeah, like within the LGBM parameters, there's one called n_estimators. And it's effectively like like the number of epochs it would be in a neural network. So yeah, so like n_estimators. I only do that for 2 or 3 each date ID, and like I just use the new block of data that I have.
Right.
Yeah. So like all my models have been trained on all of the training data, and then for each new date ID that I get in the API loop, yeah, like I fine tune for 3 of those n estimators.
Okay. And do you one of the things I found as I tried to implement, training new models with the reveal targets is you have 2 choices, right? One choice I tried which didn't work or gave me worse results was to retrain the existing models. I didn't train any new models, but train the existing models, but with the exposed data, but also using the reveal targets. So actually not retrain, but predict using the existing model without retraining them, but using the newly available reveal target data. That gave me worse results. So this is because, as I mentioned in a previous discussion, it seems you can expose LGBM models to new data which they have not been exposed to in training. And while they can accept that, I mean, their performance may not be as good as what they've been trained on, which is what I saw, but you can expose new data to them. But the other option is to not, for at least the models which have been pre-trained, so to speak, means which we have already trained, you can just do what you're doing, or you can just not additionally fine-tune them, but just use the same old data as before, right? That is, not use the reveal target. And for the new models, you again have a choice. You can just use, excuse me, you can just take the reveal targets like you just described and use them to add as the targets as you go on and train the model. Or you can additionally add for the new models a new column which also includes the reveal target. Which of these do you do? Do you include a new column of reveal targets for the new model you're training?
No. I use the reveal targets to give me the new target value for the previous data ID, but I don't have any new columns of data. The columns of data match exactly with the ones I had from the training set. So it's just, yeah, at each iteration, I just get like a few more, well, whatever it is. Each data ID, I've got like 11,000 more rows. And yeah, like, so I just fine tune and there was 11,000 more rows. What I did previously when I got new data every 10 dates or something, I was like training a brand new model from scratch with all of the data that I'd seen before. But like that was slow, and the results I got weren't as good as I get now. So now at the minute, I don't train any new models at all anymore. No, I just fine tune the ones I have.
That's interesting, because that's a simpler approach, right? Because you can just, because right now I'm just running, finally I figured out all the nuances of attaching the model and all that. And finally I'm running it but I'm training new models and adding them. So you're saying that doesn't give you as good a score as utilizing the existing model and kind of to quote unquote fine tuning by changing the number of estimators to be 2 or 3. Do we already provide number of estimators in the base models when we train on the folds, and then we just change it when you do this, or is number of estimators not used initially and then used later?
Sorry, I got thrown out of the meeting again. So I
my question was: is the number of estimators, you said n estimators is 2 or 3 when you do the fine tuning, right? So I was asking, when you do the training on the folds, is the number of estimators provided to be a larger number initially, and then you just again reinitialize the model with number of estimators change, or is the n estimators not provided when you initially train?
Well, it is, yeah. So with the training data, I train like on 5 folds, like just using the technique out of the public notebook there, where it's using the validation set, and like in that case, it's like stopping early or whatever, and then at the end of the folds, it calculates like the best n estimators. Again, like in the public notebook, it has that. So like the last model that it trains uses whatever the average best n estimators it is. So like I have those models, and like I think the best one of them trains for about like something like 3,000 n estimators on all of the training data, and then yeah, like in the API loop, as I say, every time I get like the 11,000 rows for each new date, then I fine tune each of those LGBM models that I had fully trained before. And previously, as I say, I was training brand new models and all of the data. That did give me a boost. It gave me models that were better than the other ones, but it was like slow to do. It took like a long time. Whereas, yeah, like I was fully training a brand new model and adding it to my original set. So the original set, they were sort of set in stone. They weren't changing. Whereas now I don't train any new models. I just fine tune the ones I have, and that gives me a better score. And the reason I don't train any new models from scratch anymore is because it takes too long. At the minute, when I'm fine tuning all of the models, I'm just about getting in time, like under the 9 hours. So yeah, like I've tried running it with, like it's got the new flag or whatever to say if the row is part of the competition or whatever. And like when the actual private, when the private test set is being used, I think there's going to be 62 date IDs in that, as opposed to the private, the public leaderboard at the minute. I think it's like 48. So yeah, like I've tested with 62 rows just to make sure that it's going to fit in time once it switches to the private leaderboard. But yeah, it's coming in about 8.5 hours or something. So I don't have enough time to train any other ones.
Any full models. So
yeah.
Good. So I think I'll switch over because I was training like 6 new models because like we discussed, because like we discussed last time, every 10 days if you train new and you're getting, I was assuming 60. If we get 60, then every day, now we are getting 40. So every 10, then there'll be 4 models, right? But 48, so it'll be after every 10 days, then I'll be training 4 new models. But if it's 60, it would have been 6 or 5 new models. At 0, you train starting at after 10. Right. The one other question I had was when you do the the stitching together or appending and stuff, the one other nitty-gritty detail is and at least so I don't know whether this matters, so I wanted to check with you that, the very first one, when counter is 0, you get the target for the prior date, right? For the previous, you always get the data, the target for the previous date. But for, let's say, date ID of 481, when you get the previous date, that target is you just let the old data remain.
Sorry, I've been thrown out of the meeting again, and
oh boy,
it was breaking up for you.
Yeah, Srinivasan, you were breaking up a bit.
Oh, okay. Me re-ask the question. What I was asking Steve was, like we have, let's say 480, 0 to 480, we have all of the data available, including the targets, right? So the thing I was commenting on was for date 481, we get the previous day's target, which is 480's target, right? Now,
that's right, yeah.
That target already exists in the available data, right? For every other case, it's new. We don't see, for example, when we get 481 first day's data or 481st day's target or 482nd or whatever, then that target we have not seen. But when we get the target for 480, when we predict 481, that target is already available in the data set. Do you override that target, or do you let that target remain and just start concatenating after counter is greater than 0 rather than when counter is because when counter is 0 and it gives you that data is already available. So do you overwrite the data in your current training, or do you just let it be?
I think I just let it be, but yeah, so like when I would get whatever 482, say, yeah, so like 482 will give me the targets for 481. So at that point, I would append 481 with its targets that I've just got. I would append that to the training data, and as I say, at that point, then I would just take that block of 481 data once I know its targets, and then I would fine tune the models I have, and then I would do the predictions for 482.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah, because I was also wondering whether I should. I mean, it's 1 day's data; it wouldn't matter. So I kind of chose to ignore and just continue to use the target from the training data for that 0th counter value. But I was just wondering whether it makes any kind of. I didn't think so, but I just was curious. Because that's a different case than every other case when you're exposed to new data, which you have not seen before. So, well, at least finally I figured out and all the nuances of trying to stitch the data together. And like you said, I was getting what kind of the loop I got into, which caused me some confusion, and I was trying all kinds of variety of different things, was whether to use the reveal target as yet another new column rather than just simply appending the reveal targets as targets to the training data. And I hadn't, thought of this simple retraining as you go along, and that's even better. I can kind of rationalize why it would probably give a better result because all of your models are getting tuned every instance, meaning every day, right? As opposed to only using fixed models and then getting new models, but those new models are only available after every 10 days. So they are trained also on limited data, whereas this fine-tuning way that you're doing it on every single date. So all of your models are like current as of that date when they predict.
Yeah, so I've got like 2 sets of models. I've got like the LGBM models, and then I've got TabNet models. The TabNet models, I don't fine tune them; they're sort of fixed. But yeah, so I can see I assign like weights to the predictions of the LGBM models and like weights to the TabNet models. And as I fine tune the LGBM models, I can see that the amount of weight that I need to assign to them is more. Like it increases the predictions of the LGBM model are getting better compared to the TabNet models. So.
By the way, on TabNet, I had a question for you. I sent you in Slack message. Maybe you didn't see it, but I tried. Is there any particular notebook that you're using for as reference for training the TabNet model? I trained the TabNet model, and here's the strange thing: when I train it and use it on the folds, I get, I do fine, meaning that I do get results. Again, at least the notebook I was looking at did the final adjustment and created a new model as well, much like the LGBM. And then when I put those models together and use it on the data itself, meaning on the test data, and then I predict, it runs, all of that runs successfully. But then when I submit, I get errors, the usual dreaded submission error, and can't quite figure out if it's missing data or column or blah, blah, blah. So I was wondering, did you do anything different for TabNet than for the LGBM models? Anything particular to TabNet?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so like in the submission loop, do you know they have, yeah, like again, like the sort of the main public notebook, it does that zero sum calculation thing.
Yes.
I found, yeah, so like it does a zero sum and it gives it the prediction, and I'm not sure exactly what it's doing, but it uses as a value, it uses the
Couple of
bid
different
size.
columns, right? Like some fixed
It
size,
has the
something.
bid size plus the ask size.
Right.
What I found was if I, yeah, like you need to like normalize your test set to stick it into the tab net. So it needs to be normalized. And because of that, you need to take a copy of the ask size and the bid size at the start. And then if you leave it, I'll just put it in the chat here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I take a copy, like if you see the chat now, so I take a copy right at the beginning, and then yeah, so like then when I come to do the zero sum thing, I use that parameter.
When you say normalized, in what do you mean?
Well, you need to like normalize what goes into the tab net. It can't take like the raw data. It needs to take one that's, yeah, like, like being what is mean and its standard deviation normalized. Let me see if I can find that bit of code.
Yeah, because that's what is probably killing me, because I was just like, man, it runs when I do the full training, it generates the data, but when I hit submit, and then it gives me this threaded submission error or something the matter with you stuff that to debug. I was like, oh God, I can't believe I thought this was simple and I got it working, but I can't cross the final hurdle.
I'm just looking for the bit where I normalize. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure where to do it, but I'm pretty sure I have to
whenever you
normalize.
find it, if you can dump it, that would be great. Thanks.
Oh, maybe I don't normalize actually. I think no, I don't normalize. It was like I'd been trying like a normal neural network where I had to like normalize, but no, like the tab net doesn't.
Oh.
So sorry, I know.
Okay, so
I don't. But yeah, I need to make sure that you get you clean up any like nan values.
How do you combine them, both from tabnet and from XGBoost, the light GPM?
Yeah, so I've just put the function that I call to predict on the tabnet. So you can see there, so like it just goes through the tabnet models I have and predicts from the features. And then it returns, in this case, like then it returns the average over all of the predictions that have been made by the tabnet. So that gives me one set of predictions. And then like the LGBM one does pretty much exactly the same. And so like it gives me another, and then I just combine them just like with a weighting on it. So you can just like stick them together. Yeah, so like I just multiply that by a weighting, and then I have like another weighting for the LGBM ones. And yeah, so like they add up to 1. So yeah,
and you do this power mean thing to that one of the notebooks talked about because of the
yeah, you can see there. Well, you can see there actually for the tabnet, I don't use the power mean. I use the power mean for the LGBM, but here I found it was worse. So here it's just using the standard mean. Yeah, like that line's commented out on the power mean. But yeah, like maybe your failure you're getting is if you don't like get rid of like the not a number values in your input data, the tabnet falls over.
Yeah, that one I fixed by using this additional. He does something in a couple of tabnet notebooks that I saw. They do, I forget now, some kind of steps to get rid of the man. So I did that, but I think it's this. I think it is probably this bit hash size because I do this zero sum, and that's probably where it's getting a problem. Because the reason I say that is my folds run okay and they generate the proper, or when I say proper, I mean, they're a little worse than LGBM, but they create similar kind of, or at least close enough, but a little worse kind of numbers. So that tells me that tabnet is working, right? But then when I try it with the submission, with the test, it actually runs, but it doesn't seem to generate when I hit submit. So I think it's probably this bit size, ask size stuff.
Yeah, no, that's what I was finding. I was finding, yeah, like if I did in that line, the zero sum line, if you leave the test bid size, test ask size in there, they've been altered or whatever and it falls over. So you need to take that copy right at the start. As soon as you get the set of test data in the API loop, take that bid ask size copy and that fixes it. So yeah.
Are those two variables constant or they refer to a specific framework here or?
What, the bid size, ask size?
Yeah.
Well, I think within my code, something's altering them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think when I'm like pre-processing the data or something, I think that I've done something to change those values. And like that's why if you use them directly in the zero sum, by the time it comes to the zero sum, because of my pre-processing, something's changed them and it makes the zero sum function crash. Whereas yeah, like if I take that copy right at the start, then it doesn't matter if the columns in the test data change, because I've added them together and taken a copy at the very start.
Okay, so the data pre-processing step in the data pre-processing step, you have created a copy there.
No, I take, like I assign them into that bid ask size variable before I do the pre-processing.
Okay.
Yeah, because the pre-processing changes their value, so I need to add them together and assign them to the bid ask size variable before doing the pre-processing.
So you do that whenever you get the in the test, right? You're not saying when you do the pre-processing, or you do it when you come to the test part, correct? Is that what you're saying, or you're doing the copying?
No, like that's the first line I do in the API loop.
Okay.
So
in the API loop. Okay.
Yeah, so like I've just posted there. So yeah, so like there's in the code I've just posted the 4. That's the API loop.
Okay. Got it.
And then the first thing I do is take a copy of the bid. I add together the bid size and the ask size and assign them into that variable before any pre-processing happens, before they can be altered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
cool.
was driving me nuts.
I was thinking maybe you can tell us about the ensemble, the ensemble. I think so. The variable, which method was it, and do you kind of fold it before or after you use the fine-tuning step?
Sorry, do you mean the ensemble of like the tabnet and the LGBM?
Yes, the ensemble of the tabnet and the LGBM.
Yeah, so like my process would be, yeah, so you've got the for loop at the start of the API loop. Then, as I say, yeah, like I take some variables. Then every time a new date comes along, so like every 55 buckets or whatever, I do like a fine tuning step of all of my LGBM models. Then I do like an LGBM prediction and a tabnet prediction. I just ensemble those, like the two predictions. I just like have a simple weighting. I think it's like something like 0.6 I multiply times the LGBM predictions and like 0.4 times the tabnet one, so as they add up to 1, and then just add those together, and that's my prediction. So yeah, so like every new date ID, I fine tune the LGBM models, but yeah, then for the rest of like the 55 buckets or whatever, I'm just using those models.
Cool. So that's nice. So these buckets are kind of like independently trying to evaluate your uh, uh, adherence to your I was kind of referring to your
No, sorry, by the buckets, I just mean like, like the seconds in the bucket during the time thing. Yeah, that's what I mean. So at the start of the date ID, you get given all of the revealed targets for that date ID or whatever. Yeah, so like at the start of each new date ID, I fine tune the model, but like then that's it tuned for the whole of that date ID, and so like I'm making predictions for the rest of the date ID, and then when the next date ID comes along, then I do like another fine tuning step. So the fine tuning step only occurs at the start of every date ID, and it fine tunes the model on the data I was given at the previous date.
And
so it's not a
you're
rolling based, yeah.
It is on every date ID, but it's not on the 55 time steps within a date ID. So he is, as I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, we fine tune every date. So every new date, he fine tunes his existing models, except the tabnet, which are stationary, but the LGBM models are all fine tuned on every date, and use that fine-tuned model on every date to predict for the 55 seconds within, or 55 buckets within that date. So on that one thing I was observing, or, Stephen, I assume this is true, right? Like on the 0th, when you get all the stuff, you train on the 0th and predict on the 0th too, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And
what
then,
do you mean
course,
exactly?
and the 0th for second until the 540 or whatever that is, that you get the 55 times 200. And of course, for each of those time steps, you predict 200 stocks values.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, you also need to watch as well, like I said about they introduced that new flag. What's it called? Oh, the currently scored flag. Yeah, so the currently scored flag, you need to only fine tune your models like when that's set to be true.
Correct.
Yes, so like in the public leaderboard, obviously all of the data at the start, they've got currently scored set to be true. And then they have 2 months worth of data where it's set to be false. So you don't want to be fine tuning at that point. Otherwise, you're just making models for no reason and slowing your notebook down.
Sorry, could you repeat that? Where the currently scored is false, right? For
well, for the public leaderboard, what you get the first 3 date IDs, which are the same as what was in the training set, so they don't really matter. But yeah, so like after them, then the currently scored flag goes to be true, and like they're scoring your submissions for whatever it is. I can't remember how many. I don't know, say 50 date IDs
or whatever, right? Correct.
Yeah,
right.
And then they've added on like 2 more sets of data which aren't scored upon. And like at that point, the currently scored flag goes to false. Yeah, right. So like at that point, yeah, you don't want to be fine tuning your models anymore for those. Then when it comes to the private one, yeah, like the currently scored flag is going to be false until it gets up to the date of the 20th of December. And then the currently scored flag will stay on for the remaining dates up until the 20th of March.
Right. So you fine tune only when currently scored is true is the point, right?
I do at the minute, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
How do you determine the currently scored flag? Is there some sort of instructions that you use, or
They
some
give
sort
you
of
that as part of the column, right? That's one of the columns they provide in the test.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
They added it into the
Okay,
thing.
okay, yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, because it broke everybody's notebooks when they added it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just a flag that they give you now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the date data column, yeah. I was wondering, with respect to your fine-tuning model, so you fine-tune it, you ensemble it once and you then fine-tune it twice with respect to your uh, uh, mm, your light GBM and tabnet, and then with respect to your uh, final fine-tuning, your 2 or 3 epochs. Or do you do it once in the end with the in what was the name of the variable? The n estimates one.
Yeah, no. So the tabnet model, it never changes. It's just been pre-trained or whatever. I can't fine tune that because it's a tabnet model. It's not an LGBM. I don't know if you can fine tune them or not, but I don't think so. Like, so they never change. They're fixed. The only ones I fine tune are the tabnet. Sorry, the LGBM. So each time I get each date ID when I get a new set of data, I fine tune for like only a couple of those n estimators. I only run it like 2 or 3 epochs. So like, and it's only fine tuning on one day's data, but I do that every day. So
Okay.
every time I get a new block, I do a set of fine tuning epochs, and then I make the predictions with the newly fine tuned LGBM. So the LGBM, it should get like gradually better every day as it gets more data.
Yeah. So what about the folds then? Do you do it before or after this?
I don't have any folds anymore. Yeah, so I used the
Okay.
fold during training, but yeah, so the folds gave me whatever 5 models, and then I have some extra ones that have trained on all of the data. But yeah, like those are just models. I don't need the folds anymore in this because I just fine tune every single LGBM the same. Yeah, so I just show it the new data, run it for 3 of those estimators, which makes it slightly better. So yeah, there's no validation or anything going on at this point.
Okay.
So Rakhil, any luck you've had on doing any of the using the reveal targets and stuff yet?
Absolutely no progress on my end. I haven't seen any. Yeah, nothing has really worked.
Okay. About you, Mayank? Anything else that you've been able to try?
Yeah, I was looking at the tuned LG, the Light GPM, the best public score notebook that came out recently. It has approximately 63, 62 upvotes, and it has the highest score in the unpinned section. So I was looking at that, and I was looking at the fine tuning. How did they do it as compared to Steve's one? So they created an MLP, and they fit their models there. So I was taking a look at that and looking at how that MLP helped them to fine tune it.
Interesting. I haven't seen that one. I'm busy implementing using the revealed data, which I hadn't got into that. Made mistake after mistake. How about you, Emily? Any luck trying anything new?
Oh yeah, actually, I mean, not really. I'm looking at that same notebook that Mike mentioned, the tuned tuned light GPM one. Just trying it with slightly different parameters. It takes a while to run though. Oh, I did have a question for Steve though. And oh yeah, how do you weight? How do you determine the ensembling weights? You said 0.6 and 0.4. How did you set up?
By doing like lots and lots of submissions. So like, yeah, I would set them. Yeah, because I got like the two models, I would set it to like 0.5, 0.5 to start with, and then yeah, change it, make one model's weights slightly better than the other, and see does that improve things, and then just keep going like that, just making more and more submissions until I improve the scores. Obviously, then I'm at a risk of yeah, like overfitting on the public leaderboard, which could well happen. But yeah, that's what I do to, yeah, like just to improve the weights.
Do you hold everything else fixed, or I imagine that's pretty expensive?
It takes a long time. Yeah, like as I say, each of my models takes about 8 hours to run. So yeah, I just like set them off with different weights in the morning and then see what happens and then try again the next day. So yeah, I just try and like sort of get 5 submissions done every day to fine tune them, or like to to try and find what the best weights are.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, I guess we have what till 20th or?
Yeah, it's the 20th. So what's that, Wednesday or Thursday or something?
17, so 18, 19, 20. Wednesday. This is on Wednesday. So, yeah, we have about 5 days, including Wednesday. Wednesday, though, for us in the Pacific time zone, it's I think 4 p.m. Is that right? It could be 3 p.m. with all the time change. I always get confused. It's like at 3 or 4, but it's midnight your time, right, Steve?
Yeah, I think it's midnight for me.
Midnight, and whatever Wednesday midnight translates to midnight UK time translates to in Pacific time for us, and correspondingly, I guess it'll be for India. We have like 4 full days and a little bit.
Yeah, I would suggest people to look at this notebook, the tuned light GPM best public score one. It has some interesting the Ford's one and the fine tuning one. It's the with your how do I say it, the MLP and the epochs on the validation set with a small running rate. So that's one thing that it implements it perfectly. I'm still in the process of figuring it out, but yeah, I will recommend people to check this out.
Isn't the MLP not being used in that notebook, Mayank? Like, I thought the MLP flag was set to false because I tried submitting with that and it just didn't work. It just timed out. Or are we talking of a different notebook? Is that the
Now
one which
that I-
has LGP and an MLP, and they try to ensemble both of those, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but the MLP is being used as far as I
Oh,
can. Yeah,
I see. Okay.
there's no flag here. I mean the model. Once they are using it on a fold with the in a top level with a fold one.
Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe I'm looking at
And
a different notebook. Can you share the link for that notebook on the chat? I'll check it out.
yeah,
Awesome.
doing this.
Thanks.
This one.
Thanks.
Okay, any questions? Just want to open that notebook and we can just stare at it for a few minutes before we are done. And
Yeah, let me share my screen then. I was going through it. This was the
can you increase the size a little bit?
yeah.
Please.
Just-
Just
So this is the meat of
categorical.
the neural network training and the folding part. And here is your MLP, which it creates. It uses Keras and it concatenates it, batch norm, dropout, your regular DL layers.
Oh, sorry.
The loss.
As you're just sec. Steve, were you able to implement a neural network and include it, or did you not do that?
No, I had trouble. Do you know if this notebook does it have its GPU turned on? I found that I wasn't able to load any of my LGBM models if I tried to also load a Keras trained model. This one here, like it's maybe training it. This is doing the training and the submission all in one go, isn't it? Whereas I was like trying to load a pre-trained Keras model, and as soon as I loaded it, it wouldn't let me train the LGBM anymore. And like because of the fact that I was doing the training of the LGBM, I had to abandon that. So
Interesting. Well, do you know why LGPMs couldn't be trained when you load a pre-trained Keras?
no,
That's
it only seemed to be a problem with Keras. Like as I said before, yeah, like then I switched to a PyTorch one, but it wasn't giving me good results, so I've dropped that as well. So,
Mike, if you scroll to the top of the notebook, is there an if NN flag there? I'm on my phone, so I'm kind of having it hard to see here, but isn't that set too?
Yeah, I think so. There was an flag. This guy. And let me try to search it. Yeah, it's set to false here. But I think so.
So you're not using the neural net then, as Raquel said.
I think I don't know if there is another version of this notebook because I tried just setting that to true and submitting and it just timed out. So I don't know if there was something wrong on my end or what happened. But yeah, I was also curious to see.
Is the GPU turned on?
I think so. I don't think.
Yeah, by
Can you check
default the
that, Mike?
GPUs are. Yeah, by default
No,
the GPUs are turned on.
no, I don't think it's by default. I think you have to turn it on.
Yeah.
In the notebook, it may be, but otherwise, in generic, when you open a fresh notebook, you have to turn it on. I've had it not turned on when you.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, was that why it timed out, maybe? But
It could be, yeah. I don't know actually. Didn't check that, but
Then how are they submitting it? Because if the neural network is turned off here,
only the LGBM is being used to make the prediction on this one. At least that's what I understood when I looked at it, because I think the top has an LGB flag also. So you, at least the idea was use LGB or MLP or ensemble both.
okay.
And that's
Okay.
and I think the flag had just LGB set up. So I guess the other one
And
works.
you're saying when you set it up and assuming GPU is on, but when you turned on, when you set the neural network to true recall, then you're saying it just kept running and didn't finish.
Yes,
Yeah.
but my LGB was also true, so maybe you need to turn that off, and then maybe it'll be within the time limit. I don't know.
Yeah, this is totally counterintuitive.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like, for example, even in the public notebooks or some of the other ones, like they do this if train and is inference or is test. And sometimes when you're training and inferencing, then they set both to true.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And it's always funny that the weights are there in every notebook and they don't get used.
Yeah, here.
I think this one used the weights. Like, I'm sorry, confused. Like,
can we see?
Or maybe it was some other way. I'm getting confused right now.
Can we look at whether the weights are used? Because I haven't seen any other notebook where the weights are used.
Are being used, yeah. So then maybe, yeah, maybe not. Or maybe I'm thinking of something else.
When I say weights, I mean, this stock weights thing. That
correct, the stock weights, yeah.
Seems to include.
Right.
Yeah, not, even if the earlier snippet that Mike was showing is different from the stock weights thing, I thought. So that's the weighting that Steve is talking about, right? Which is
correct.
Weighting per model rather than
ensembling. Right. Yeah. Or maybe it's not in this notebook, but yeah.
The stock weights,
no, I saw
I
the
think
weights
so.
Yeah, I saw it in this notebook too. Okay.
Yeah. Is there any other notebook that you guys?
There it is. If you go, you just scroll past it.
Yeah, this one.
No, you keep going up for the weights. I'm talking about not
this one.
That one. That's the weights that I'm talking about. But that one doesn't get, at least to me, I haven't seen it used. So if somebody is using it, then I'd be very curious how they are using it, because I see it in all the notebooks, but none of the notebooks use it. There's none that
I think one of the newer notebooks used it. Yeah, like one of the ones like with the top public leaderboard score, not the one Mayank's referencing, but the one before that. I think they use those weights. So, I think I use them in my fine tuning.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because I just like stole the code out of whatever the last public notebook was.
The best public scores one?
Yeah, yeah, that one there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I think they use it. So, sorry guys, I'm gonna have to drop off here. I'm going out. So.
Okay.
All right. Have a good time and good luck, Steve.
Thank you very much, and hope you do all well. So, are we meeting next week, or is it?
Yeah,
everybody's
sure.
on.
Let's meet next week and at least see how everybody ended up submitting or not, and then we'll call it an end of the year and reconvene probably in the new year. So we can meet next week. Next week is 23rd or something?
Yeah, it's the 23rd.
16, 7, 23rd. Yeah, so let's do 23rd and then quit for the rest of the year after that. Are people okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, that
cool.
works for me.
Okay.
Okay,
Sounds
good luck,
good.
everybody.
Okay, let's
I'll
do
see you next
23rd.
week.
Yep, thanks, Steve.
Cheers.
Yep.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Okay.
Yeah.
See you all.